I've come to realize that a lot of young people are experiencing this sort of existential confusion in modern times. And there are many reasons why this is. Of course, young people in the past, even older people of past generations, have experienced this existential confusion within their own lives. But it's especially prevalent today because we're living in times where things have changed so quickly in just 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And the things we've been told by our parents and grandparents when we were growing up simply have not panned out to be the truth. So, within my life, I found myself asking questions like, why am I doing any of this? What actually matters in my life? And who am I outside of my job? These are things that many other people have asked themselves as well, I'm sure, especially since life itself has just gotten so weird, especially in these last 5 or 6 years. It seems like after 2020, things are just different. Very weird to explain. Along with things changing so rapidly and life just being so different now than what it was even 10 years ago, I think being overly exposed to so much information is also causing a lot of confusion, especially among younger people who are much more impressionable than older people. You can open up your phone and scroll through thousands of shorts in like 30 minutes. And in fact, on a daily basis, I'd argue that you and I and everybody else within society, at least in the Western world, is exposed to more information in a single day than what the average person was in a month time 30 years back. Think about it, 30 years ago, yeah, sure, people had phones and the internet was still there, but the usage was much less than what it is now. There was the news, television, the newspaper, many people were still reading at that time, but there wasn't social media in the mid to late 90s, not at all. And fewer people, as I said, were spending their time on the internet. We have endless options for literally everything, for what we want to learn about, for what we want to entertain ourselves with these sorts of people we want to hang around in the online space. It seems awesome, right? Having all this accessibility to information and people and places and entertainment, but it's really not. We're always looking for new things to satisfy our curiosity. We're always trying to scratch that itch, you could say. And we've become so overwhelmed with choices and so overwhelmed with information and so overwhelmed with the ability to choose this or that within our own life across all areas, especially in the online space, that it's creating this deeper existential confusion than ever before. Growing up, I had many interests, and I still do have many interests, but back then, when I was, we'll say from 5 years old to 15 years old, things were especially difficult because I was always doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and learning about all these things and trying these new things. And the internet certainly made it easier to learn, certainly made it easier to find people who were interested in the same things that I was interested in. But in terms of figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, it was very difficult. And even now, yeah, sure, I'm making these videos. I have my side businesses, my job, but I still sit here some days and I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? Now, that's not to say that I'm the only person who thinks about that. I'm sure many people also think the same thing. If you're watching this video, if you're still here listening or watching this video right now, then you're probably thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, I've been there, man. I know what it's like to have all these interests and not know what exactly I want to do with my life, given all these interests that I have. So when I was 18 years old, I decided to go to college. As I've talked about in a previous video, I figured that'd be the better long-term strategy because that's really all I knew. Everybody in my family had gone to college and I knew no different. But anyways, yeah, so I spent the first year and a half there undeclared, just taking random classes. And looking back, I'm like, holy crap, maybe I wasted so much time. But also, the first year and a half of college, you have to take those prerequisite classes to begin with, at least here in America. So it is what it is. I figured it out. But my point in saying that is that I had so many interests, so many things that I wanted to pursue and learn about and perhaps engage with as a career that I couldn't choose, because in choosing what you want to do in your life, you're also choosing the long list of things that you're not going to do within your life. That's very difficult. It's a very strange thing to consider, you know? Especially given the fact that most people only live to about 80 years old. That's not a long time. So there are so many things that you can want to do and so many things that you can have passion for that you might never even get a chance to engage with. In past times, and when I say past times, I mean a few hundred years back to perhaps even a few thousand years back, it was much easier for young people to decide what they wanted to do for their life. They simply did what their parents did. If there was a young man, you know, 13, 14, 15 years old, well, a boy, technically, he would begin learning the craft that his father did. If his father was a baker, he learned to be a baker. If his father was a blacksmith, he learned how to be a blacksmith. If his father was a farmer, he learned the ins and outs of being a farmer. It was pretty straightforward. Whatever your situation was, whatever you were born into, that's what you did. And I'm sure in some rare cases, the son of a specific man within the community would choose to do something different. But by and large, you were born into your situation. While I'm sure people of those times did ask these big existential questions within their own life, it certainly wasn't as pressing as to how things are today, if I had to guess. Because most of their life, as I said, was just laid out in front of them. And most of the things they did on a daily basis was for their survival. The actions they took, the time they spent, the energy they put into certain tasks were directly related to having enough food and water and shelter and clothing. Things that we don't necessarily have to worry about in today's day and age. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful to be alive in the 21st century. We, for the most part, have autonomy. We can choose what we want to do with our life. And I don't just mean for a job or a career, but I mean everything. You can just choose what you want to do and pursue that. Opportunities are much greater in modern life than what they were even 100 years ago. That's amazing. You should be grateful for that too. But when you have this fact of opportunity being abundant and information overload and the abundance of options within your life across all areas of your life, you have this existential crisis that many people are facing. You have a society of people who are overburdened with so many choices that they don't know what to do, because, as I said, in choosing what you want to do, you're also choosing all the things you don't want to do. Anybody can see what any lifestyle is like online. And because of this, it's more difficult to choose exactly what it is you want to do within your very own life. And this is why there's this big existential crisis where many people lack purpose, meaning, and direction. They simply don't know what to choose. So as a default, they just stay home and do nothing. They choose no options. They just continue to sedate themselves with content and TV and junk food and alcohol and drugs and whatever other short-term pleasures that make them feel great in the moment, but ultimately hold them back in terms of creating the life that they really want to live. And of course, there are so many layers to this issue here. The way society is set up right now is very different than what it was even 40 years ago, even 20 years ago. The cost of living is up. Fewer people are getting married, fewer people are having children, and social media creates more division amongst people in all areas of life. You have division between races, division between religious beliefs, division between politics, that's a major one right there. And all these variables here, they also play a huge role as to why many young people are experiencing this existential confusion within their own lives. And yet the question remains, what can you do about it? What can I do about it? What can we collectively as individuals do about it within our own lives? What I'll say is this: you've got to spend time and energy and your attention trying to understand yourself. I'll say it again. You need to spend time, attention, and energy trying to understand yourself. This means going deep within your own mind and trying to understand why you believe the things you believe in, what your values are, what your true purpose is, and trying to examine all the reasons why you've acted the way you've acted within your life. This might mean questioning everything you've been taught. This might mean essentially erasing all those deeply held beliefs and creating new ones that better serve you. Whatever the case may be, the process is, from a general standpoint, is the same for everybody, but it's specific to every individual. Everybody's everybody's life is different. Everybody's journey to understanding themselves is slightly different. And it'll be terrifying. It'll be very terrifying, but ultimately in understanding yourself, you can better understand what your role is within this reality. And once you have that mental clarity and that understanding of what it is you should be doing within this reality, you can act with confidence, with conviction, and move forward in life with a true purpose, this meaning of sorts. And as I said, I don't know what that purpose is for you. I don't know what your true reason for being here on this earth is. I'm still trying to figure out what that is for myself. But what I know is that life becomes so much more fulfilling and enjoyable when you can understand more about yourself. You might be wondering, okay, well, how do I understand myself? Well, what do you mean when you say look inward and examine those deeply held beliefs and opinions and thoughts that have shaped you into the person you are today? Well, what I mean when I say that is embrace stillness. I enjoy mindfulness meditation, where I simply sit down in this chair I have in my room, close my eyes, focus on the breath, and as random thoughts come to mind, I like to treat them as data points. I like to view those thoughts from an objective perspective. I'm not clinging on to those thoughts. I'm not letting one thought branch into another thought and then let that other thought branch into a big cluster of thoughts. No. When a thought comes, I acknowledge it, I accept it, and then I allow that thought to just pass me by. I refocus onto the breath. This has been the best thing for me in terms of developing the foundational skills needed to look inward and understand more about yourself and gain that mental clarity. All right? So spend time every single day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Eventually, you'll come to all the realizations that you need to come to. And from there, you'll develop this clarity and this sense of purpose and a better understanding of who you are within this reality. From there, well, I'm not saying it'll solve all your problems, but that existential dread or the existential confusion that you may be facing, it won't be as powerful. It won't have as big, as strong of a grip on your life as it may now. So, yeah, pretty long-winded here, but I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it made sense. I was kind of just speaking off the cuff here. I'm trying to do a little bit more of this in my videos rather than sticking to the script I've written. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching. If you're still here at this point, and I'll speak to you soon.